Today the mission is to hike on the Jenner, which is a mountain overlooking the Koenigsee, and then to take a boat ride on the Koenigsee down past St. Bartholome, which is a cloister there on the Koenigsee. The Jenner is 6,148 feet high, and I'm taking the easy way up by taking the Seilbahn. Normally it would be a two-part Seilbahn, but the upper part is unfortunately closed. The Seilbahn opened in 1953, and the great thing about hiking on the Jenner is that you get really great views from the top of both the Watzmann, which is the third highest peak in Germany, and also of the Koenigsee. And here in the center of the screen, you can actually see the very top of the Watzmann. I'll get better views of that hopefully later as I'm hiking. Straight down, we're looking at Schönau, which is the little kind of touristy town right on the Koenigsee. And then off to the side, we're looking into the Nationalpark Berchtesgaden, and of course you can see much more now of the Watzmann. It's that really high peak that's kind of sticking out over top of everything here. If you notice that the video shakes every once in a while, that's because when you hit the tower, there's a little transition point that makes things feel a little bit wiggly. The German word for that would be wackelig, which is really quite a very perfect word for it. Anyway, the Watzmann is 8,901 feet high, and it is possible to hike to the top of it, but I'm not that intrepid of an explorer. I really prefer the whole Seilbahn way of going to the top of a mountain, and then you can walk around and actually enjoy it and not feel like you're out of breath and dying as you're walking. From the Koenigsee and right around St. Bartholome, you're supposed to be able to get a really great view of the east face of the Watzmann, and it's a 800-meter vertical ascent. It's the longest wall in the eastern Alps. This little lake that we're passing right now is the Koenigsee Water Reserve, and according to Google Maps, this is a real hot photo spot. You can see there's a few tourists down there already. Welcome to the Jennerberg Mittelstation. From now on, it's all hiking. Beautiful hiking. I'm not a super big fan of hiking, but I have to say, as much uphill as there is here, this really is a very beautiful place to hike. If you're wondering what this grate is across the path, that's to help keep the cows from wandering too far. Oh wow, what a view. If you've ever heard the term Alm in regards to the Alps, this is what the Alm is. It's just a large pasture area, and in the summertime, cattle are brought up to the Alm, and they eat the grass and the herbs, and it makes particularly flavorful kind of milk, and they make alpine cheese from it, and it's kind of a special delicacy specific to the Alps. It's also very steep here, and I can feel the lack of air. This really is a very pretty kind of hike, but I'm not used to being at high altitude, so I am definitely starting to run out of breath. But what a beautiful Alm, and the little hut down there, I think that's probably a place the herdsman stays. Beautiful panorama. You can see all the little flowers. I'm sure the cows love that part. Probably tastes like a really delicious salad. What a great view. Kind of makes me want to volunteer to take care of the cows. On the one hand, when I see the Seilbahn, I think, boy, this could be so much easier. But then I'd miss all this great scenery, wouldn't I? It's not unusual in the Alps to have these little prayer stations along the path. That's what's attached to the tree. I wouldn't mind stopping to pray with a view like this down into the valley in Berchtesgaden and Schönau, a little bit of the Koenigsee. So I just stopped and had a little bit of lunch just over there at that little mountain rest stop, and it was delicious. And now it's windy and the clouds are moving in, which is not a good thing. As we get closer to the top of the mountain, you can see how things are starting to change in the landscape. It's much rockier, there's a lot fewer trees, and there's even a few spots with some snow yet. There that splits off to the left and goes down. That's where I just hiked from. And we're up above the snow line now. And if you look there, up over the top of the path, you can see some mountains with some glaciers back there. So we're on our way up to the top of the Jenner mountain, and path is pretty steep. I believe the German word would be mächtig for these mountains. Very mighty and rugged. I'm not sure what the German word is for the sky, besides maybe schlimm, bad, so I probably should stop stopping all the time and get to the top before the weather turns any worse. But it is really beautiful, and you do want to take a lot of pictures. Well, that's not something I expected to see today. That must be an awfully powerful motor, because it is steep. It's got to be a real struggle to get up there. Sure wouldn't want to have to salt that driveway in the winter. Einfach schön. Anstrengend, aber schön. Probably should have done a little bit more training for this hike. Mountains are steep. Beautiful, but really steep. I'm pretty much now at the top. I've reached the restaurant hut, and I'm going to try to get to the viewing platform before the rain starts, and then head back down to the hut. So I probably should hustle a little more. This is the closest I got to the top for pictures. It started to rain. Storms in the mountains are nothing to mess with. Shortly after I got down from the Gipfel, there was a lightning strike near the path, so oops. I'm taking eine Abkürzung, a shorter way down, and it is a little rustic, very rustic. The people that I'm following look like they know what they're doing, but I think they have better knees than me. It's a bit of a tough little shortcut. I just made it down the mountain in time to get the last boat ride on the Koenigsee for today, which means I won't be able to stop and explore St. Bartholomew if I want to go to the very south end of the lake, which I want to see. During the boat ride, the tour guide will talk a little bit about the lake, but it will all be in German, so I'll give you some information now in English. The lake is almost 5 miles long and just a little bit over a mile wide, and it's deep. It's 620 feet deep. They think it was formed by glaciers, and the average depth is 330 feet. It's the third deepest lake in Germany, and because of the mountains surrounding it on basically all the sides, it's more or less like a fjord. It was originally served also by a railway, and that railway line has now been converted to a bike and hiking path. And if the weather had been better today, I would have biked back here from Berchtesgaden instead of taking the bus. They also claim that the Koenigsee is the cleanest lake in Germany, and that's why the boat that I'm on right now is an electric boat. There's no gas-powered engines allowed on the lake. Only electric boats, rowboats, and pedal boats. And they also permit swimming here, and along the way we'll pass Sankt Bartholomä, which is only reachable with the boat, or in the winter, of course, when the lake is frozen, then you can walk on the lake or use that to get to Sankt Bartholomä.
Kopfes rechts ist, schaut in den Himmel hinauf. Das Profil kann man ganz gut erkennen. Gell? Auf der linken im Sommer ein schöner Aussichtsberg, im Winter ein kleines, aber doch anspruchsvolles Skigebiet. Der Koenigsee, der liegt 603 Meter über dem Meeresspiegel, er ist 8 Kilometer lang und bis zu 1300 Metern breit. Die Durchschnittstiefen liegen bei 120 und die tiefsten Stellen gehen runter bis knapp 200 Meter. Der See und die umliegende Umgebung stehen seit 1910 unter Naturschutz. Diesen Gnade konnte man dann 7-mal anschlagen hören, von Wand zu Wand bis hinter auf St. Bartholomä. Daher spricht man auch heute noch immer vom 7-fachen Echo vom Koenigsee. Die Schießerei wurde dann im Laufe der Zeit eingestellt, es war zu gefährlich mit dem Schwarzpulver hier an Bord. Heutzutage wird auch auf manchen Booten auf Wunsch der Gäste mit einem Flügelhorn oder mit der Trompete ein Lied drüber gespielt. Da kann man dann bis längsten Klettertouren hier in den Ostalpen. Ein guter Bergsteiger braucht darauf im Sommer an die 6 bis 8 Stunden. Die erste Besteigung der Ostwand war im Jahre 1801.
We're just reaching Sankt Bartholomä, which is a Roman Catholic pilgrimage church. If I had gotten an earlier boat, we could have gone inside and done the tour, but this is on the Herschau Peninsula, and like I said earlier, the only way to get here is by boat or a really difficult hike over the mountains, and I think the boat is a much better way to get here. The first chapel was built here in 1134 by the provost of Berchtesgaden, and then the one that is here currently was built in 1697 in the Baroque style, and it was modeled actually after the Salzburg Cathedral with the 2 onion domes and a red domed roof. It apparently has very impressive stucco work in the inside, but I don't have time, unfortunately, to go there and also go to the end of the lake. We're looking at one of several waterfalls that feed into the Koenigsee. There's several small creeks that run into the Koenigsee and keep it full of fresh water. We're nearing the very end of the lake, and if you look very carefully in the back, you can see a waterfall coming down kind of the middle of that bank of mountains back there. That's by the Obersee. There's also a nice hike back to the Obersee and the waterfall back there that I would have done had I not spent the entire day hiking up and down half of the Jennerberg. But it's supposed to be a really beautiful hike, and I think some friends of mine will probably do it soon. They're here on vacation about the same time as I am. That's it for my time in Berchtesgaden. Tomorrow I'll be heading cross-country on a bit of a shortcut to the Chiemsee, and the following day I'll meet some friends to hike around here in Chiemsee.